All right, good Monday morning and welcome to Connect, the California MBA's weekly podcast featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. It's our final week in March, our final episode focusing specifically on customer experience. And we've got a great guest today, and we'll jump into the conversation with him here in just a sec. But before we do that, let's thank our sponsors over at Accelerate. So if you're looking to close out more loans in 2021, which everyone in the crowd should be saying amen, yes, right now, you need to definitely check out and experience Accelerate's award-winning customer engagement platform that features lead management, CRM, call routing, sales enablement, marketing automation, borrower engagement, and data intelligence through innovative use of multi-channel marketing, which includes text, social media, email, direct mail, phone, ringless voicemail, retargeting, and much, much more. And as I always say, if you're active on LinkedIn, make sure you're following Josh Friend. He's got a lot of great content out there. It seems to be on every podcast and conversation on LinkedIn right now. And if you want a more personal demo of the Accelerate product, make sure to just go to accelerate.com and schedule it there. All right, before we jump into the conversation, I want to toss it over to Susan Milazzo, our CEO, for this week's update. Susan.
Thanks, Dustin. Hi, this is Susan with the California MBA. And this week, I'd like to talk with you about our Mortgage Innovators Conference that's happening in our virtual environment on May 4th and 5th. If you check out our website, we have just announced our draft agenda. We'll be updating that with new sponsors and speakers as we get them confirmed, but we are very excited about what we're offering this year. Remember that this is the one place that you can go to hear the most innovative minds and companies in the mortgage industry. You'll have some practical takeaways to be more efficient, connect with your customers, better execution and delivery, and of course, build those customers for life relationships that we're all looking for. We've also got some great prizes coming up for registrations that are coming in early, so don't delay and get your registration in so you might be one of our lucky winners. I want to give a big thank you to our virtual conference sponsor, Accelerate, for helping us put together another fantastic event this year. I look forward to seeing you in our virtual environment, May 4th and 5th, at the Mortgage Innovators Conference. Back to you, Dustin.
All right, thanks, Susan. Now let's welcome in our guests. I'm excited to welcome in old friend of the association here, Michael Guidotti. Michael is the VP of Integration and Branch Technology at American Pacific Mortgage in Roseville. Mike's actually a graduate of our Future Leaders program and been involved with the association for a number of years now. So I'm excited to welcome him in. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate it. And I love anytime I get a chance to take part in anything that the California MBA is putting on. So thanks for having me.
Well, hey, appreciate the support. Let's jump right into it then. Let's start with your background. For those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to the mortgage industry and specifically the tech side of the business and American Pacific.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like most of us that are in the industry didn't go to college to be in the industry, but it has
mortgage banking.
Yeah, did not major in mortgage banking, but actually started working for a servicing company when I was going to college, starting back in '06. And like a lot of us, just kind of got sucked in and didn't look back. So from 3 months graduated out of high school, started with a servicing company there in Sacramento.
Interesting. Wow. And then, so were you always interested in technology and it was kind of just a natural flow into on the mortgage side, or that kind of
so did not start on the mortgage side, or excuse me, in the banking side with technology. Started at a servicing company, kind of doing imaging. Back then, it was like the eFax. People with eFax going in coding. Moved into check requests, modifications, ended up moving over to another company as an escrow analyst. So did that for a few years before landing here at American Pacific Mortgage almost exactly 9 years ago.
Wow. And then now you're so as the VP of Integration and Branch Technology, what's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, a couple different things. So on the integration side, overseeing the onboarding of any, branches, loan officers within the company. So, we have a great team that really kind of handholds people as they're getting started with us, making sure that they, kind of know who to go to for what, help and resources, that they're set up with all of their equipment, all the logistics that goes into, bringing a branch on from, leases to the network equipment and all that fun stuff that nobody ever wants to talk about, but kind of keeps the lights on and going. So that's one aspect of it. And then we also have our production technology team. So that's a team that's really focused on the sales-facing tools, interacting with our loan officers and branches to do trainings on the various tools, from our point of sale system to our CRM to kind of all the add-on tools, the MBS highways of the world, the mortgage coaches of the world, bombs, all those other tools that people like to leverage with their clients and their the referral partners. So we have about 11 tools total that we're managing. And so we really just focus on the support, training, adoption, building out new functionality, and kind of trying to get all the tools to talk to one another.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I'm curious, with all the different tools you guys have got, and all the employees and all those moving parts that you're talking about, what has this experience been like in the past year or so, trying to keep your systems up to date? I mean, through both the pandemic and the refi boom.
Yeah, it's been, luckily for us, we have a really amazing relationship with our vendor partners, and we have a great IS department. So, as far as, the work from home, getting employees moved on, we really didn't see any issues, as far as the networks going down or people not being able to get on. We already had our VPNs in place to where people could plug in, remotely from their homes. So that overall was not as bad as I thought it might be when everything was first happening. But what we really found is just more of the sales, the sales side of things. Loan officers who are always used to meeting with people in person, moving into the virtual environment. So I think from that aspect, I think it just pushed people into kind of forced adoption of some of the technology tools that people had, and they might use, Total Expert or our Simple Nexus mobile app for, one or two things. And now all of a sudden they're using it for 8 or 9 different things because, instead of sitting at, open houses, they're having to push out flyers virtually, because a lot of people went to the virtual open houses. Instead of handing out business cards, really leveraging their mobile app to share it with their clients so that they get their name and picture in front of them, versus the handshakes and in-persons that we were seeing, prior to March of last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to come up with you got to wordsmith that forced adoption, maybe like accelerated adoption, right?
Yeah, right.
So let's get to our monthly topic is focused on customer engagement and experience in particular. And so I'm curious your thoughts on what changes you guys are starting to make, and from your perspective, what you're starting to see as the market. I mean, it's not happening quite yet, but I think there's a lot of it's on the forefront of everyone's mind. The return to the purchase side of the business. So what are you guys seeing on your end?
Yeah, same thing. We're seeing, obviously, as we know that the market's kind of, beginning that shift, and, things are opening up too. So we're seeing, kind of that spring buying season, what that's going to look like. So it's really just our loan officers, and they actually did a good job of that, throughout the 2020. I mean, everybody's refi volume went up, exponentially higher than normal. But we still maintained a pretty strong purchase percentage in our volume. So our LOs didn't lose sight of that. I think them leveraging the technology, I think that's going to be something that's going to continue on. But I think the importance of focusing on those relationships with the referral partners. I saw a study the other day that said right now with inventory that there's actually more licensed real estate agents in the United States than there is inventory available. And that was, when you just compare that number, you think about that conceptually, it's like, okay, wow, this is going to be so it's really going to be, what are you doing to differentiate yourself from the competition? What have you been doing to maintain those relationships? Because, they're going to be getting hit up.
So do you think that, during this next purchase market focus cycle, do you think that your LOs are going to have success based more on their relationships with those referral partners, or do you think it's going to be maybe a combination of that and the technology that they're using, the integration, maybe the increased efficiency that they're seeing?
Yeah, it's like I really think it's both, and I know sometimes that's kind of like a cop-out answer, but it really
We'll
is. I
accept it.
think. Yeah, all right, perfect. Yeah, I think it really is going to be a combination of both. And how do you hit that sweet spot? How do you really customize your service to your referral partners, but then leverage those technology platforms to automate some of it or tie them into some of the communications with the clients so they feel engaged, they're able to easily log in and see where things are at. But then you're also, again, not forgetting what got you to the dance. You've had these relationships with these people for years. You've obviously been doing something right. So how do you just use the technology to, enhance those relationships? And that's something that, we hear about too. Technology is never going to replace those personal, touch points. The fact that you pick up the phone, the fact that you keep your agents in the loop as things are going through the process, that you're calling them when something, when you have an issue with an escrow or there is something that comes up, because you really are that expert that's there to support them and their clients. So, I don't think that that's ever going to change, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to, assume here, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that your LOs are seeing that. I mean, that technology, like you said, it's not going to replace them. It's going to give them more opportunity to have, more focused and efficient, relationships and conversations with those referral partners. They can focus on the big issues that can't be automated and let the busy work be done by automation.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and going back to even the comment a little bit ago about the forced adoption, and you're right, it's not forced adoption. It was, they were kind of forced into a situation where they had to take a closer look at the technology. But I actually think that was good as we go into these markets, because I think now a lot of people that didn't leverage technology to its fullest extent prior to last year, they've been leveraging it more over the last, 12 months. So they're more comfortable and they're actually more open-minded to some of the things that are rolling out and ways that they can, automate something or use the technology to engage with their referral partners. So I actually think that it's kind of the technology side of it is going to continue to get, I think, more adoption more quickly, because people actually had to kind of stop and take a look at what capabilities were out there last year.
Well, I mean, at this point, I have to imagine, impossible to turn that around and go back to where you were before if you weren't really using it. I mean, how do you, reverse time and go back?
Yep.
So, going forward here in the future, what do you think that, just from a customer perspective, an end user customer perspective, what are they going to see more change, and where are they going to see a better experience? Is it due to, changes that or further changes that we're going to see on the front end? Or is this more of a back-end process? They won't necessarily see the changes to per se, but they're going to find a better overall experience and maybe a quicker process.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, again, it's going to be a combination of both, but I think it's slightly different. I think the front end is going to be as really as you're getting your point of sale systems, your CRMs talking together more. You're getting more of that. A few years back, it was really the focus of like the life of a loan. The life of a loan, that communication throughout the process. One of the themes that I'm hearing, at least internally here, within our organization and industry-wide as well, is now almost the lead to the loan life cycle. What's happening before somebody even does their application? How are you using, regardless of the CRM that you're using, whether it's, Total Expert, there's a ton of different ones out there. But, how are you taking that data, and, how many touch points is it taking before, you get an application from somebody? How many meetings are you having? And so it's really, I think, going to be more tracking the data and analytics behind, what causes a lead to become an application, and what are those, touch points, and really, creating a process and a cadence around that is some of the things that I'm hearing, more and more from people recently.
Yeah,
so
I think that's a long time coming too. I mean, that's the whole big data discussion that's been going on now for 5-10 years. Finally getting that to a point where it's actionable intelligence, not just this big massive data.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think, and so I think that's, the upfront piece of it. I think then, you get a little bit of more of the centralization for your loan officers. How do I get them getting the functionality of 8 systems, but only having to log into 2 or 3? And what we're seeing is, with a lot of the vendors, more and more deeper integrations, more, leveraging single sign-on so that people can access, data from one system inside of another, to limit the amount of different jumping around that the loan officers have to do, and then streamlining more stuff on the back end, as you're seeing more technology pieces come into play, whether it comes from the VOE, VOA, VOI space, all of those things I think are going to help streamline the process on the back end.
Gotcha. So then, as we're building out as you guys are, continue to build out your customer facing, customer experience focused tools, this is kind of a silly question, the way I'm phrasing it, but, what gets you most excited? Where do you see the most growth potential? What's the, maybe the pain point that you're seeing that can be fixed and really make a difference with customer experience? And then from your LO's perspective, really help their business grow?
Yeah, for me, and it's really centralization. I think it's for me, as much as we can get the expanded functionality where LOs can really get everything that they need in one centralized place, I think we're going to see adoption go up. I think we're going to see communication go up, and I think then also too tying some of those pieces into what the client sees. So we here at American Pacific Mortgage look at our customers as our loan officers, but then those customers have their own customers, which are the clients, the borrowers. So, I think as much as we can have the LOs in a system, but then have an ecosystem in there that then the clients are, engaging with, whether that's the point of sale system or, whatever that ends up being, to where they're seeing updates on their loan in that platform. If they have questions, that's what the LOs are working in all day, every day. So they're more equipped to answer those questions on the spot to deliver a better client experience. So that's something that I'm really excited about, and I think that we're getting closer and closer to that.
Interesting. Yeah, I totally can see how that would make a huge difference for sure. So curious here, you mentioned earlier on a few minutes ago that you've been with American Pacific now, almost 10 years, or almost 9 years, it sounds like, so almost a decade. So, I'm curious, you guys have got a great culture going on there. Obviously, Bill Lohman's our chairman of our board right now, and everyone in the industry. There's not a person in the industry that doesn't love Bill. Great guy, and you guys just have a unique culture there. Where one of the things that you can always look and test a company's culture, you look at their how long their employees have stayed there, and you guys have had a very, very stable leadership team for a long time now. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, someone that's been there almost 10 years, what's unique about the culture of the company, and how does that maybe even spill over into how you guys take care of customers, both your LOs and then the end user?
Yeah, it's so interesting because they always say, there's no secret sauce, or what is the secret sauce, and it really is the culture. And I know a lot of places say it's the culture, but for me it boils down to a couple of things, and it's really the relatability to leadership. The fact that they all most of our leadership team were all producers, all either loan officers, branch managers. So they're really coming at things from a perspective of being able to really relate to what the branches are going through. Decades of experience of navigating some of these types of, markets, maybe not exactly like what we just went through, but, similar things that, have happened over, the last 15, 20 plus years. I think that's it. I think that it's, the longevity of a lot of our branches. We don't see a ton of turnover. I look at, the fact that I've been here for over 9 years now, and some of the branches that I work with, every day are people that were here that I remember back when I was just, insuring, and first starting out, and it's the same loan officers and same names. And that speaks volumes to me, because we're in an industry and sales environments, and, in general, a lot of times see a lot of turnover. And so I just think that, just the angle that they look at things, that they make it very clear to all of us here at home office, our focus is being 100%, focused and dedicated on supporting our customers, which are the branches and loan officers, so that they can then in turn, support their customers, which are the clients. And, that just resonates throughout the entire company.
That's really cool. Yeah. And I just from my interaction, sort of as a partner organization, if you will. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. You guys do have a great culture there, and it does come right from the top. You're totally right about that. So our final question here, we're starting to run out of time here. So final question. So, from your perspective, someone who's, younger in the industry, but has, you certainly got, some experience at this point. What's your thought on, why is it crucial for lenders and young folks in the industry in particular to get involved and support their, whether it's their state MBA, their national MBA, or the California MBA if they're here in our state?
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially as you mentioned, somebody who's been through the California MBA Future Leaders Program, been involved in the group for a few years now. It's like some of just the sessions like this that you guys put on, that I learned stuff that I would never have learned about, without being exposed to that. Having just that access to the information, and exposure to people that have been in the industry for years and years and are coming at it with, education and information from things that they've seen that we just wouldn't, have that exposure to without being a part of a group like this, I think is really important. And just too, as the younger generation starts to gain more and more experience and gets into the position where, we're able to start becoming, leaders in, the mortgage industry. And I think just being involved and getting educated, from those that have been doing it for years is extremely important. Yeah.
One I would add, the only thing I'd add to that is that, we do, every association, every membership group has, a certain number of members that, they pay their dues. That's great, but they don't necessarily get plugged in. So they don't get to take advantage, like you said, of all those opportunities to gain information and knowledge. So pitch to California MBA members that maybe aren't plugged in right now, you can get involved, and there's a lot of great stuff to find out about and get some good cross-pollination with information and tips and trends and all that kind of good stuff that makes you, run your business better. So
yeah, okay. I 100% agree with that. And the only thing I'd add, even real quick too, is how open and accepting of even new ideas and stuff, even you guys have been. Is I think a lot of times younger people get intimidated and they're like, these people have done this forever, like they're not going to care what I have to think. And I would just, challenge people to really speak up, share their ideas, bring fresh things to the table, because I've been just pleasantly surprised at how open and receptive, you guys have been to different ideas that either, I've presented or seen other people present and actually implemented. So I think it speaks volumes to, you, Susan, the California MBA, board, of just how open-minded you guys all are.
Great. No, I appreciate that, Mike. All right. Well, hey, that's all the time we've got now for this episode for Connect. So, Mike, thanks for joining us, and best of luck here in the next navigating the next few months here of hopefully the tail end of the pandemic, but certainly an ongoing refi boom that'll keep you guys busy for a while.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Dustin.
You got it. And if you enjoyed the conversation here, make sure you can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel here. You can also follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And we'll be back again next week for another episode of Connect. We'll see you then.